what is going to save us, not the parenting seminar as such. I'm just joking. Actually, few years ago, if decades ago, maybe even 1 decade ago, nobody had heard about anything called a parenting seminar. Yes, we didn't have anybody to teach you how to bring up children, but we are living in very trying circumstances now. Yes, things have changed so drastically in terms of all the joint families have broken up. So we're all living in nuclear families, finding it very difficult to do everything by ourselves, especially when both husband and wife are working, and we have no help in that sense where we can trust. And also, all of us know, yes, this second Paramatma, the mobile that's always there with us, yes, very close to our heart, and it's also close to the children, yes, so close to the children. Yeah, I know, yesterday I had gone to some place, and interestingly, there was this little boy who was sitting right in front of me, and throughout, there was a lecture that was going on, and throughout the lecture, he was just sitting, and I was amazed. I said, wow, look at him, he's been sitting. Little did I realize that he had this in his hand, so small. But throughout, for an hour continuously, he had that in his hand. And that's something which we are not realizing is such a big danger. Like, we thought children are restless, and suddenly they've all become quiet. It means there's a problem, right? If they're sitting quiet in one place. So today what we're going to do, as you can see on the slide there, we'll talk about this responsibility of parenting. Yes, how grave this is, one, with some examples.
Your screen is not visible.
Okay. I also have to share on.
Just come.
Okay, sorry. Right. So first we'll talk about this great responsibility, and then we'll talk about the early impressions. So normally the parenting seminars were given elsewhere. We speak about parenting for different age groups. Right? So for example, we talk about the early, maybe 2 to 7, and then how is it 8 onwards, and then teenagers. They're all separate groups. But today, because this seminar was focused on the participants of the Gita course, and I'm sure all of you have children of different age groups. So we decided to put all in one. We'll try and discuss as much as we can. So we talk about early impressions, and we also talk about can parents be friends, yeah, which we normally hear. And then what kind of regulations and responsibilities do we have to take for children between 7 to 12 also. And then most importantly, we'll discuss, and we'll begin with that, is types of parenting. Okay, we'll try and understand these types of parenting. So we understand what type of a parent I am. Okay, and to begin with, we have this. I'm eternally grateful to Srila Prabhupada, who is actually the driving force behind all that we discuss. There's an interesting verse that comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Guru na sasyat, svajano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat, daivam na tatsyat, patishcha sasyat, na mochayedya samupeta mrityum. It's a very deep verse. It is conveying the grave responsibility. It says one does not have a right to be a guru, yes, or swajana, a relative kind of a thing, or pita, a father, or a mother, janani, even daivam, not even a worshipable devata, not a husband, yes, na pati, sasasyat. Nobody has a right to take any of these responsibilities if you cannot deliver your dependence from the cycle of birth and death. Whoever is dependent on you, if you cannot release them from this cycle of birth and death, you don't have the right to become any of this. So one may wonder, I came here for a parenting seminar. Yes, how does it matter my children. Cycle of birth and death is something later, for later. So let's try to understand it in this way. What are we looking for in our children in terms of qualities? Yes, all of you have something, some aspirations for your children. So now let us kind of list, try and identify. If you have to say that, this is one quality predominantly I want in my child, son or daughter, what would that quality be? Yeah, anybody?
Honesty.
There would be many, but one main, honesty, she says, very nice, Madhumathi. Sorry?
Kindness.
Kind, yes, kindness, honesty, humanity,
Confidence.
confidence,
Respectful.
respectful, yes. Any others?
A good human being.
Yeah, all of this put together. Kindness, respectful, honest, confident, anyone?
Patience.
Patient, yes. Very important, patient. Compassion, kindness, responsibility, very nice. Should be responsible.
Respect and values. Respect and values for our culture, our society.
Yes, very nice. Respectful, not just or also towards our culture.
In spiritual path.
Helpful. Somebody said,
In spiritual path.
yes, takes up to the spiritual path. Very nice. Right? These are typically, when so it's just like a minute when you give a thought. This is what you want, right, from your children. And if you look at the character traits which are strongly emphasized by psychology, modern psychology, then they are somewhere here. And I think you have listed quite a few here. Yes, I can see honesty here. I can see tolerance. I can see discipline somewhere. Somebody mentioned responsibility. But can you see all of them, and do you all agree that yes, these are the qualities more or less? That parenting is such a grave responsibility that we don't have a right mix. Okay, and then we spoke about qualities. Oh, how are they linked? Just please try to understand. Who is released from the cycle of birth and death? Krishna assures is the one who becomes his bhakta. Right? So I'm drawing on a kind of a principle of transitivity. If A is greater than B, B is greater than C, A is greater than C, isn't it? So simple. Like that, I'm saying that who can actually have these qualities? Finally, it is one who is Krishna's devotee. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this that we may artificially, externally, try so many things to get these qualities in our children. Yes, be it something which is as apparently as mundane as maybe confidence. No, we think that confidence थोड़ी ना इससे आता है. भक्त बनने से कोई confident बनता है क्या? We might think that way. But actually speaking, it's 26 qualities that are very beautifully listed here. Yes, kindness is here. Truthful, equal to everybody, compassionate, right? Magnanimous, mild, without envy, peaceful. Just look at them. No material desires, steady, not influenced by Lord's illusory energy. Sounds very bombastic, but if you think of it, it's just being confident. I'm not influenced by what somebody else has to tell me, in terms of peer pressure. I don't get influenced. If somebody is doing something, I am not pressurized to do it because everybody else is doing. Yes, because I know what is to be done, what is not to be done. That's what is being told here. Friendly, grave, also expert at so many things. Skills you would want, right? You want so many skills in your children. All of these are qualities of a devotee. Therefore, a parenting seminar, which is being conducted here, is focusing on this aspect of how to actually practically bring up children in a devotional environment, which has lot of these byproducts. This is, by the way, you will get all of these qualities, all the children. And I'm not exaggerating. Of course, much will depend on the nature of the child. Yes, much will depend on the nature of the child. But we will see, and I'll have these very beautiful nectar drops in between, which are statements by Srila Prabhupada, very beautiful on children. So, can somebody read this out? Anybody wants to read this out?
Any 5-year-old child can be trained, and within very short time, his life will be become successful by realization of Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, this training is lacking all over the world. It is necessary for the leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement to start educational institutions in different parts of the world to train children, starting at the age of 5 years. Thus, such children will not become happiest or spoiled children of society. Rather, they can all become devotees of Lord. The face of the world will then change automatically.
Correct? Very nice statement that Srila Prabhupada is making, telling us how it is possible to change. You know, I took a very interesting course for university students this last semester, which is a proper credited course at our university. It's called as Happiness and Self-Awareness. You know, this was a very interesting course that was somehow by Krishna's arrangement. It was given to me to teach. I'm trained in economics, but I was teaching happiness as one course. There, an important part of the course was to help children understand that happiness can be learned. Right? Think about it. Happiness can be learned. सीख सकते हैं हम लोग खुश कैसे रहना है. Which means what? That you're not doomed to a certain situation. So most often we feel that I'm doomed by either my karma, by nature, by whatever, right? By circumstances. No. In any circumstances whatsoever, be whatever your nature, there is so much scope to change. Correct? And that's in that context, we are seeing how bringing up children in a certain way will make them individuals like this, not hippies or spoiled children of the society. Yes, don't be under the assumption that I put them into the best school, I give them the best of the facilities, and khatam. My responsibility is done. Most parents feel DPS mein dal diya, khatam. Now my child will come out as something fantastic, and fantastic means an engineer or a doctor normally. Correct? तो एक बक्से से यहाँ से डाल दिया, उस बक्से से बाहर जब निकलेगा, तो he becomes what we have dreamed. It doesn't happen that way. Because that baksa is pretty black inside, dark. There is so much effort that we need to put in to ensure that the child comes out the way we would want him to, like what you all listed now. You know, unfortunately, when we ask parents, normally these are the qualities that come out. सभी लोग यही बोलते हैं, honesty, truthfulness, compassion, kind. But when it comes to actual, practically applying it, it's rarely like that. Why? Why is it rarely like that? Why do you think it's really, we are not making an effort towards that? How much effort are we putting in to make our child compassionate? Can somebody tell me, give me an instance of why it's not possible?
Sometimes parents are lacking of those things.
Okay, she's saying sometimes parents themselves lack those qualities. What else? Okay, it's all philosophy. What else?
I think the focus of parents is mostly making them successful.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
right. And successful in a very mundane understanding.
More in the wealth way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit the nail. Most often, what are parents aiming at? They're just looking at success in isolation. Money, wealth. That is success. Not looking at the holistic perspective at all. Which is something which we all know it. And we feel that that's how it is. Now I'll tell you an instance. My son was sharing this. One of these teachers was saying about competition. He was saying that if a tiger is chasing you what should you do? What will you do normally? You and your friend, the tiger is chasing you. What will you do? You'll run very fast, isn't it? First thing you will do is you will run. The second thing that you will do is you will ensure you'll run faster than your friend, because the tiger will catch your friend and you will survive. Imagine, this is the kind of teaching that we give. And as a parent, when you hear, normally how will you respond? सही तो है, ऐसा ही करना है बेटा. This is how you're supposed to do. Just do it, right? But then in that process, what are we doing? We forget about everything else that we had in life, as a vision for our children. So let's look at the types of parenting that are there, that exist according to psychology. We are going to look at the different types of parenting and understand where we fall. Okay, so I'll begin with the worst kind of parenting, and then I'll go on to something which is good. Yes. So look at this quadrant. You know what's a quadrant? Yes. In the graph paper, we used to do these quadrants. Yes. I don't know how many of you all are off all this for years now. So we have the positive, 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 negative, 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 like that, right? So if you look at love and discipline, and the x-axis and the y-axis, you have love and discipline. Where are we? Which quadrant are we? Yeah, we may be on a quadrant where there is only love, no discipline. There is only discipline, no love. There is no love, no discipline. There is only love and only discipline, both. Correct? This is what it is, all four. So the first one, neglectful, what do you all think? Where does it fall? No love, no discipline. Right? Which is called as the neglectful, or as the name suggests, parents are completely busy in their own worlds. Right? They're so engrossed in their own work, and sometimes it's not that we are busy only in earning money. Sometimes we may be busy even in in services at the temple. Sometimes we get so busy. That's also possible. I'm speaking to some people who are completely engaged here in the temple. But what happens in the process when you're an extremely neglectful parent? Typically, the child feels there is nobody who is to show what is right, what is wrong, and there is nobody who is to tell you that this is good for you in terms of a well-wisher. Now, please give a half a minute to identify what is the most important quality that a parent is teaching to the child. One important quality, very, very important quality, especially the mother. What is that one important quality? Can anybody guess? Very important. Primary lesson. What's that primary lesson that a parent is teaching a child?
Sense of good versus bad.
Okay, he says sense of good versus bad.
Discipline.
Respect, discipline,
Caring.
care,
Love.
love. Thank you. It's love. The most important lesson that a parent is giving the child is love. Right? And we are talking about what? What is bhakti? Bhakti is love, right? It's supposed to be unconditional love for Krishna. But when we don't teach that to the child, what happens? Invariably, the child feels so unloved. How is he ever going to love anything? Forget about bhakti. He doesn't love anybody because he has never felt that love. Neglectful parenting is the most dangerous, where children don't have any sense of self-esteem. They don't develop any confidence in life, and they're just on their own, right? This is the worst kind of parenting, and these are some of the very dangerous effects, right? The emotional, physical, everything is neglected. A psychologist, David Coleman, here I have mentioned, What does he say? Now, this is not the scripture, this is a psychologist who's saying this. Up to the age of 3, the primary thing that you really want children to gain is a sense of security in their attachments. The more the child can be at home with their parents, the better. And this has become so difficult in these days. The big challenge is daycare centers have multiplied. Yeah, to well, we like it, we don't like it, but that's the fact, right? They're just thriving. And Madhumathi says, mother is 10 times more important than the father. I'm sorry for this, but that's not me. But in the sense that the mother is very important in terms of the lesson that a mother can teach. Nobody can teach the lesson of love. Right? In the Bhagavatam, in fact, it is said that if you want an example of true love, in this material world, the closest example is that of a mother and a child, and that too only up to the age of 1. Beyond that, as the seed of expectation begins to grow, that unconditional love goes on for reducing. It's like that. Right? To the age of 1, the kind of love that a mother can show to a child, or she's the way she takes care of a child, is the closest to the real love that we're talking about for Krishna. So what happens, outcome is this, right? Emotional deprivation, which is the most dangerous thing. The child is emotionally deprived, right? And there won't be any, no matter what you tell this child, the child rarely responds or accepts it. Because he doesn't feel that it's, nobody has ever told him anything with love, right? So, yeah, it's kind of like I said, what about Krishna consciousness? The child will not even be normal with a very sense of low self-esteem. Now, where do you think this will fall? Liberal parenting, the next kind of parent. Only love. Yes. Now, this love is very strange kind of love, right? Where it's like, जो करना है करो, मेरे को छोड़ दो. I'll give you what you want, just don't cry. I'll give you the best toys, I'll give you the best food. Yeah, I'll take you to the latest restaurants, the latest movies, whatever comes, I will do that for you. But that's it. You don't cry. Don't crib so much. Somebody I will manage, I will arrange, somebody takes care of you, and typically between the mother and father, there is a kind of a tiff here, in the sense that the mother normally wants to do what is good for the child. But the father, who has, nowadays it's not so often, but the father has limited time with the child. Right? Nowadays even the mother has limited time. So both of them are doing the same thing. What are they doing? They're buying the child's love by giving them expensive things. Okay? You all can relate to it? The guilt overtakes, by evening, or suppose we're off. What happens then? We buy something big. We buy something for the child which we feel, child is happy. But what are we doing in that process again? We're just not helping the child recognize his or her responsibilities. What am I supposed to do? What is good for me? All confusion, right? So that's about competition, and rarely the child discerns right from wrong. Doesn't understand. Says, maybe I will say yes only. Mommy will say yes. That's how. And you, because you are in your feeling that I'm not able to give time, the only way you make up for that is to say yes to whatever the child does. And when you say yes to whatever the child asks, does, then the child is in fact developing low self-esteem, not high. His confidence levels are not going up. His confidence levels are going down. So this is also like the other side of the coin, the same coin. Ek to neglectful parenting, and the other side is liberal parenting. Both are not good. Now what is next is an authoritarian parent. What is this now? Only discipline and no love. It says like this, yes? And that's it. Do what I'm saying. Just do it. And the child will do till he is this height. Yes? Till he becomes a teen maybe. And then once he becomes a teenager, he will nicely show you. He'll nicely speak out your Jivana Charitra. Yes? He will tell you all that you did to him. He'll give you a nice katha of how you were, what you did, and how you don't care. Yes, they'll say, now I don't care. That's typical of authority. So most of the rebellious nature that develops among children is here. Yes, if you feel that children are rebelling, children won't listen to you, it's because you have always treated them with a very hard, your disposition has always been that of a very stern, strict, with a stick. Correct? And we always feel that this is the easiest way. This is the easiest way out by just shouting. I heard a very nice quote which said that it's not the thunder, but it's the rain that helps the flower bloom. Right? So thunder you might, as much as you want, but that's not going to help the flower bloom at all. Correct? In this case also, the child develops a very low self-esteem, is scared always, and is scared till a certain age. And also the most dangerous thing is, the child begins to have double face. Yeah, he knows exactly what answer the father wants to hear or what answer the mother wants to hear. They learn to lie. Right? This is the typical outcome of a completely strict parent, where children learn to lie, children learn to have double faces, children learn to lead double lives. Yeah. Now finally, this is both. Assertive parenting is different from authoritarian parenting. Dictator nahi, Hitler nahi banna hai. Yeah, we are going to become what? An assertive parent. Who's an assertive parent? Who tells you what to do, but explains why. And doesn't say that do what I say, but says do what I am doing and why. Explains, takes time out. I'll give you a very nice real-time story. There's this doctor, Leeladhar Gupta in Govardhan, Vrindavan, and he comes from a very strict family, very, very orthodox family. His father was also a Ayurvedic doctor, and he is also an Ayurvedic doctor. So when in their childhood they had lots of restrictions at home, ye karna, ye nahi karna, ye dekhna, nahi dekhna, khana, ye, everything had a restriction. And eventually, when he grew up and he had to go to Jaipur for his future studies, higher studies, he went to Ayurvedic college in Jaipur. So he said, the first thing when I went to Jaipur, what did I want to do? I wanted to go to the theatre. I wanted to watch a movie because I was never allowed to. So I was waiting. I was waiting to go to the theatre, and I went, bought a ticket, a nice seat. I went and sat and I said, now I'm going to watch this movie, this big screen. And it started, lights turned off and his excitement was growing. And the first scene, it all came, what comes, the names and all that came. And it just about began when this Dr. Leeladhar Gupta, he saw his father's big picture on the screen. His father looking at him very disapprovingly. And he said, I was looking at the screen for some time. I kept looking. Then I got up and I went out. He said, I just couldn't sit there anymore. My father looking at me like that. What kind of a parent is this? Is this an authoritarian parent? Or this is an assertive parent? What do you think? We might think assertive parenting means, to say, oh, no problem, beta. That's not like that. That's liberal parent. Yes. An authoritative parent or an assertive parent is not the same as an authoritarian. Yes, who is a dictator. No. This parent has actually invested time in the child, told the child what is good, what is not. So the child will definitely, as they grow up, they want to explore, experiment. But they will always think, oh, is this right? Will this be approved by my parents, by my teachers? Will this thought will surely come, because what they can lose is discipline, but what they can't lose is love. They want to give away discipline, but what they can't give, love. That is something they cannot give up. Right? So that thing keeps coming back. So when this doctor, he shares that my father, though he was strict, but he always made sure he explained to us why. He spent so much time with us. Right? So this is exactly, and then that parent himself or herself is an example. That's so important, like one of you all said, because we are not, yes, when we spoke about qualities, the problem is we will not be a great example ourselves. वैसे चैंटिंग करना है, बहुत अच्छा, मैंने सुना है हरे कृष्ण में, बिल्कुल फोकस करें, एक जगह बैठ के चैंटिंग करो, and when you are chanting you're on the, अच्छा, this is what happens. So आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो, why not me, right? And they may feel that they may not tell you, they are scared of you, but they know, मम्मी के सामने करना है, पापा के सामने करना है, पीछे चलता है. So what they eventually learn is not chanting but cheating. Yes, चार माला जप गई है, चार हो गया, हाँ हो गया. They are just doing it because they want to give you that number. Nothing. What the point is that the more you spend time with the child and explain why, that's when children begin to develop from within. Yes, as the kind of qualities that you're talking about, you need to display those qualities. You need to explain to them why. Give them a lot of examples, right? So let's read this. Drops of nectar. Who wants to read this?
I am simply surprised that you want to give up your child to some other persons, even they are also devotees. For you, child worship is more important than deity worship. If you cannot spend time with him, then stop the duties of pujari. At least you must take good care of your son until he is 4 years old, and if after that time you are unable anymore to take care of him, then I shall take care. These children are given to us by Krishna. They are Vaishnavas and we must be very careful to protect them. These are not ordinary children, they are Vaikuntha children, and we are very fortunate we can give them chance to advance further in Krishna consciousness. That is very great responsibility. Do not neglect it or be confused. Your duty is very clear.
Yes. What is this particular paragraph telling? Again, the importance of bringing up children. Even in a devotional environment, how important it is to give time to the children. Your Prabhupada is saying child worship is more important than deity worship. He says don't sit and don't say that I don't have time to bring up my child. You will have to do it. You will have to give full attention to it. Yes, whatever we do, whatever we say is having a huge impact on the child. It's like we might not understand what impact it may have. It's like when you throw a small stone, what happens? Nothing happens. No? One small pebble, किसी पे मारा तो खरोच, maybe a scratch somewhere. But imagine the same pebble, you throw it from the 10-story building. ऊपर से what happens? It has the potential to crack the skull. Similar, you are on a pedestal for the child. You are somebody the child is looking up to, right? Also teachers, same, it's the same responsibility. So when you say something, it happens, it makes a huge impact. I was hearing this, one of psychologists was sharing this, a counselor. She shared that this full grown up man came to her and in a very disturbed condition, and he said that I don't want to live, I just want to finish myself. He had this huge suicidal tendencies, and he had also attempted many times before. So she was trying to counsel him, and they have to really figure out go deeper, dug into the past, and what they found out, what was as a child, this man, his mother always used to tell him, just get lost. it was a very simple way of telling whenever she used to be busy. Not that she said consciously, but whenever she was busy, she said, get lost from here. She would just say this. That get lost from here, get lost from here, kept bombarding into the child's brain so much that he just accepted it that my mother doesn't want me. So who wants me? Because the mother is the most important person for him in his life. And it has just multiplied. And that's how the person doesn't want to exist, wants to really get lost. Right? That's how grave this responsibility is. Right? So we want to see how to plant the seed and how do we transfer those values. Right? So there are three main things, and some of you all spoke about prarabdha or something like that, and somebody even. So we know that there is karma. Yes, we all believe that there is something called karma which is working on us, working on our children. So no matter what, they will have certain nature. Yes, you may want to make them musicians, but they want to become painters, and then you want to make them IIT, and they end up taking humanities. Kuch bhi ho sakta hai, right? So I heard of this is exactly what I heard. Our father was sharing that my father, he wanted me to become an artist, because he was a very well-renowned artist, and he tried teaching me art. I just couldn't do it. I wanted to become a musician because I played the piano so well, and I was and I just couldn't hear. I couldn't follow his desire, and I became a musician. Now my son, I keep teaching him the piano, and he has become an artist. Right? And this is so typical. We want to thrust our desires onto our children, our ambitions onto our children, right? So, but that's their karma, right? That's going to influence them that way. And there's of course association. Yes, what kind of surroundings you all are giving for your children is very important. How it influences the bringing up of the child. But according to, and this is from the scriptures again, according to Parashara Muni, these are the three things which are influencing a child. Karma, yes. Association, yes. But samskaras. He says it's the samskaras that perhaps is even more important than karma. It can change a lot. How do we understand samskaras? Who knows? Who can try and kind of guess or even throw some light on what do you understand by samskar? We use it quite often, right?
Which we carry from our previous.
Right, very nice.
Current impression.
Impressions, very nice. Values, habits, yeah, it's an outcome, absolutely. So, when you translate samskaras into English, they call us purificatory rituals. If it is a ritual, yes, it's just like, for example, it begins with, say, in our life, it may begin with, as a baby, we had Annaprashan Samskar. We did that. The first time you feed the baby, then you have Namkaran Samskar, then you have Upanayana Samskar, if, in certain cases, then you have Vivaha Samskar, and then you have Antim Samskar. Yes, all of these samskaras. They're all samskaras. What are they indicating? They're all rituals. They're creating certain impressions, like some of you said. They're creating certain supposedly positive impressions. On what? On the identity of the person. Right? So the moment you have Vivaha Samskara, the way it is designed, that entire ritual is, now you have a different identity. Now you're not that same old flamboyant, single, happy-go-lucky. No, you have a responsibility. So now your identity has changed. You have all of these responsibilities, A, B, C, like that. And in if you closely observe a marriage ritual, this is what is being explained there. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going on. We just sit in front of the fire and that's it. Yeah? Not often we understand what exactly is going on there. Similarly with Annaprashan, similarly with Upanayana, which are very important samskaras, where this identity is being introduced to the person in a very, very positive way. Now you are this, right? So here, what we are talking is the formative years, the initial years, Very important is the role of samskaras. Yeah, these mental impressions. As it is mentioned that the samskaras are like all the programs that in your in your head. They're there. These are all the programs. That's already nicely kind of a very expert software engineer has installed them. All of these programs. How are you going to behave depends much on that, right? And of course, association, all of this is going to influence these programs. But if you read this sentence, samskara is emotionally colored memory that creates strong impressions. Yes, which strong impressions that are there in your mind of your childhood, especially we're talking about samskaras in the formative years. Whatever impressions you have in the childhood, they're very difficult to remove that, very, very difficult to clear that. And therefore, in the Vedic scriptures, the identity of the child begins not after birth, even before birth. There is something even before the child enters the womb. There is something called as the Garbhadhana Samskar, which means that okay, now we have purified this body for you to enter. It starts from there. Can you imagine how much importance is being given? And you feel like this is a mythology, but that's how it is, right? Once the child, the baby is there in the womb, then what happens? It all depends on what the mother is eating, what the mother is thinking, what the mother is watching, right? And if the mother is always doing ding jack, or she's eating all kinds of nonsense, that is the samskara that you've already given to the child. So somebody was saying that in Western countries a child is a born drunkard, alcoholic, say, because that's how it is, right? You're getting the child to be used to a certain way of life right from the beginning, even before the child is out. How are you expecting the honest, the kind, compassionate, all that to happen when we are giving all that nonsense right from the beginning? We're training something else. If we train something else and we are, like it's like putting a spoonful of chili powder in our mouth and saying, "Arey, ye to tikha hai." Tikha hoga. It's chili powder that you're putting into your mouth. Similarly, it's just as obvious as that, right? If you are going to give these kind of samskaras to the child, then that's what the child is actually going to replicate later, right? Parents fighting with each other. Most often we say this, why is it not good? Why is it not good when husband and wife, they fight with each other in front of the child? Yeah, I'm not saying don't fight, but not in front of the child. It's important. Why? Because the husband has a way to cope up. The wife has her own coping mechanism. Both of you have your own coping mechanism, right? You may go away to your parents' place. You will cope like that. I don't know where the husbands go. They go to different places, yes? But what will the child do? The child has no coping mechanism. The child's ego is very thin. You have a thick ego. Now for you it's okay. You will, but the child who's being of the formative years, the impression is such that there are a lot of negative emotions that are accumulating in the child's heart and in the brain. So what happens as they grow up? They are going to create a lot of disturbances for themselves and for the surroundings, for the society. How can they positively contribute? Because there's a lot of negative emotions inside. So you see, as they grow up, they become a source of worry, not a source of happiness. If you want them to become a source of happiness, then you should have put that seed, no? What we have put instead, we have planted the seed of unhappiness, of disharmony, of quarrel, of all that we have planted. So obviously what is going to come out? That's what comes out. Right? And then this child cannot really contribute anything meaningful to the society, to the family, to himself or herself. Right? So, I was just telling all my students at the university also. Do you know India? India stands second in what? Highest depression cases after US. And we think that US has lot of all this unethical, this, that. अरे अपने देश में हम लोग second है, we're just right behind. US has so much money, it's depressed. We say they are very materialistic. We are not. We are second. We are right there after, just behind US. It's something to worry. We have the highest number of teenage suicides. We have highest cases of depression clinically diagnosed, and so many go unreported in our country. Correct? Who goes? Nobody goes also. We have these issues. Why? Because gradually, somehow or the other, we feel, these things are not important. We feel, no, mother is not important, family is not important. No, it's not right. It's definitely not right. It's quite clear that it's because the seed that we are giving is wrong. The atmosphere that we are giving is wrong. We are going wrong somewhere. Right? If Dhruva Maharaj could take back his mother home, you all know the story, right? Of Dhruva Maharaj. All of you must have heard in, I don't know, in Gita class, maybe many of you all have heard. There's Dhruva, little Dhruva. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned. He belongs to a very royal family, and his father is a king, King Uttanapada, and he has two wives, Suruchi and Suniti. And Suruchi's son is Uttama, and Suniti's son is Dhruva. You know Dhruva, right? The pole star, at least we know from like that. So once what happens, King Uttanapada is sitting on his throne, and little Uttama, both of them are small, Uttama and Dhruva. They were step brothers, and Uttama is sitting on Uttanapada's lap. So Dhruva is seeing that, he runs, and he also wants to go and sit. At that time, Suruchi, who's a stepmother of Dhruva, she says, no, you can't sit here. You have to take birth in my womb to be sitting here. You can't sit there. And king doesn't say anything. The father doesn't say anything. Dhruva is totally humiliated. Small boy, 5-year-old boy, but he's enraged. He's humiliated. He feels totally neglected, and he falls apart. He goes crying to his mother in anger. He goes back crying and he tells his mother, what is this? How is it possible that I cannot sit on my own father's lap? And at that time, Suniti would have said a lot of things. Yes, let's take revenge. Let's plot. You know what she says? She says, I don't know. This is what it is. This is something you will have to accept. And Dhruva says, no. I want to become more powerful and famous than not just my father, but my great-grandfather also, who is Brahma. And how do I do it? And Suniti says, I don't know. You should ask God about it. I don't know how you are asking me. You should ask Krishna. So Dhruva says, where is he? He says, I have heard from the sages that he is somewhere in the forest, because they keep going to the forest to meditate on him. So maybe he is there. So innocently she tells. And this little Dhruva, he goes to the forest to meditate. And he finally, it's so beautifully described in Srimad Bhagavatam, how he manages to see Krishna face to face, a little boy, 5-year-old, because he's so determined. But of course, after he sees Krishna, he understands, what did I do? I asked for pieces of glass when there is diamond here. That's how beautifully he understands that later. But the moral of the story is, when Dhruva, it's time for him to, he actually, it's time for him to go back, in the sense he dies. He doesn't forget his mother. He says, okay, I am going to to back to Krishna's abode, but what about my mother? She was the one who actually showed me this way. Of course, it was his guru also, who he meets in the forest, because of whom he understands, Sage Narada. But he doesn't forget his mother. Why are we telling this story? That's the impact that you all can have on your children. There's a lot you can achieve by parenting rightly. But this achievement can be either positive or negative. And most often it goes into the negative, which is what we are seeing in our country. Right? We are seeing this, that the direction is totally negative. Therefore, we don't want to bring up Hiranyakashipus, we want to bring up Prahlads. We have a Prahlad somewhere here. So now, what we're going to do is see how can we transfer these values then. And we want to transfer values. One, the three things that I will discuss. One is give a lot of positive triggers to what you want them to learn. Like for instance, there's this Mataji who shared a so sweet thing. She said that when she was in the US, and she says that I love waking up in the morning. For me, the morning time is the best time. And do you know why? Because when she was very small, her father was a very wealthy businessman, very busy. But he would ensure that he would wake up his daughter at 5 in the morning to spend time with her. So he would wake her up, make juice for her, and then make a toast for her. You know how nicely she recollects this. Play with her in the morning. So till 5 to 7 was my time with my father. And till date, it's so nice, isn't it? Till date, she says, for me, Mangalati time is the best. Because she has a positive trigger associated with it. And can you imagine what kind of a small gesture, a small practice such as that had an impact on the child? Right? Similarly, there's another Mataji who shared this with me. She said, when I was small, my mother used to drag me to the temple. I used to really not like going to the temple. I never liked the boring classes, nothing. I don't like the food, nothing I liked. But I liked one thing. What was that one thing? There was this another Mataji who used to come to me whenever I would go to the temple, and she would come and speak to me very nicely. She would say, what a sweet nice frock you're wearing. And she would say, come, I brought a new picture for you to paint today, coloring for you, coloring page for you, come. Every time I used to go, she used to bring something for me like this. A coloring page costs you how much? 2 rupees, 3 rupees, and one photocopy. But she would bring it for her. And this girl, who used to not really like anything else in the temple, she would go only for this Mataji. It's kind of power that we can have over children. And now she's an initiated devotee. The same girl. This is the kind of impressions or positive triggers that we can have. We need to create for our children. Not that we create, in fact, the negative. What we do normally, we became so busy after coming to temple or a Krishna consciousness or with devotees that we're not really paying attention to our children. Then they associate chanting or associate Krishna, associate temple with what? Loss of time with parents. That's not a great idea, right? So positive trigger is very important. Next is relevant engagement. Relevant in the sense, be relevant to the children. What, like I often say, that boys, they like to play. Girls, they like to talk, right? So spend time accordingly. Yeah, you have to talk to them. You have to play with them. For a long time, I used to play football with my sons, but my elder son, he liked to talk. I realized that, he just likes to talk. So you have to ensure that you sit by. Why? Because if you don't do it, they will not do what you want. It's not that, it's not like an exchange game like that. But it's true that the child should feel that you understand him or her. Therefore, they will make an attempt to understand you, your priorities, what you are trying to say, what you are trying to introduce them to. Correct? So it's important that we also become very relevant. Now, finally, what we're talking is the 3 S's. Yeah, 3 S's we are going to talk. And these 3 S's are stories, shlokas, and songs. These 3 are very crucial in the bringing up of children. The passing of values. Stories, so important. They're windows to the spiritual world. I'll tell you a story. I've told this everywhere. In all Proteol seminars, my favorite story. In fact, I was thinking I'll tell another story, but somehow I feel I'll tell this story only. There's a story about Krishna. Krishna's pastimes. We all know Krishna loved what? Butter. He loved butter. So this is a story of where Krishna was really small, and he woke up one morning at very early, 6 a.m. for him. and he woke up, and the first thing that he did, he was not even fully awake, he's just still rubbing his eyes, and he went and knocked at another Gopi's house, knocked at her door. So he's still yawning and not even washed his face, and this Gopi opened the door, and this Kana standing there, and he says, Maya has asked for butter. Today some sadhus are coming to our house, and she said that there is no butter, so please go and ask if you have some butter to lend today. And this Gopi is so happy. She says, what? Mother Yashoda, she wants butter from my house for sadhus who are coming to your house. I am so lucky. I am so fortunate. So she goes and brings a big pot of butter. And she gives it to Kana. She says, can you carry this? And he says, yeah, I'll try. And he carries. And says, wait, I'll give you some mishri also. You know mishri? Sugar candy. So I'll give you mishri also. Please serve all the sadhus makhan and mishri. And please ask Mother Yashoda to tell all the sadhus to bless me and my family. So Kana says, yeah, he takes it. And the Gopi is very happy. She closes the door. And as soon as Kana goes out, he just climbed down the stairs. He says, oh, he calls. All his friends come out. He has all his friends, all from all sizes, they all come. And they sit right there, right in front of the Gopi's house. And the friends are like, hey, Gopal, let's go at least towards, forest, let's go in. Sit here. This is fun. There's so much risk. That is the fun. So they all sit there. And everybody, early in the morning, at 6:15, they are eating butter with mishri and makhan like that. Happily. And this Gopi inside, she hears, what is this chaos in the morning? Outside, what am I hearing? And we know that Kana cannot, is not happy only with friends. He also calls the monkeys. Yes, so everybody is there. Happily eating from this pot of butter. And she opens the door to see what? And she says, Krishna, you actually stole like this from my house today? First thing in the morning, you're taking butter saying that your mother is going to feed the sadhus. These stupid friends of yours you're feeding. Krishna gets up and says, you call my friends stupid? Imagine this little Krishna. And she says, then what? He says, can't see, they're all sadhus. Among them, there is one little boy, very small, who's not even wearing clothes. He's so small. And he has not even noticed that the Gopi has come. Because he says, yahi chance, and now I can take everything from inside. And he is busy scraping the pot and eating it to his heart's satisfaction. He doesn't even see the Gopi is yelling, shouting, nothing. So she looks at him and says, Sadhu. He says, yes, can't see. You have to actually do dandavats to all of them. She says, yes, I'm going to bring a danda now. to do dandavats to all of you. Dandavats actually means full pranam, right? She says, yes, I'm going to bring a danda now. And she goes inside, and all the friends with Krishna, they flee from there. Now why did it brought so much smile and happiness, right? These stories are windows to the spiritual world. How often are we telling these stories to our children? Do we take time out to tell stories to our children? We must. We must read as many stories as possible to them. Unfortunate. Now what we do when it's lunch prasadam time, it's mobile. Right? Whenever it's lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever time, what do? We keep a mobile in front of the child, and we know that only when the mobile is there, the child is eating. No. How about telling stories? It's hard to compete. We are competing with the phone, with the computer, with the internet. It's hard. We can't compete, but we have to. We have to try. We have to try telling them stories, and they will like it. You know why? Because they like the love. Yes, the mobile is not giving that love. So they will choose it. They will choose in the night before sleeping if you tell them a story. Be with them. Whenever you're feeding them, please tell them stories. My children, when my son was very small, whenever it was lunchtime, he would run and go and bring the Vyasapita. Because the Vyasapita is where you keep the Bhagavatam on it. Yes, it's that stand there. He would go and bring this fat books of Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why? Because there's a lot of pictures in it. He would go bring, put it there, and this point, tell this story now. So 100 times they will hear the same story. They don't get bored. Yeah? But unfortunate, it's just unfortunate that we have given up this, we've lost in front of the mobile. Thank you. Next is of course, such beautiful pictures are there, and children will not ask you what is the story about. We can't tell if we don't know. Therefore, you have to be here. Right? Therefore, you need to come here regularly. There is a very selfish motive to come here. If you want a good family, you want good children, you will have to come here. You will have to learn the story. It's no propaganda. It's no agenda. But this is the only way. You need to understand that unless I know this, how am I going to pass this? Unfortunate that parents, most often they don't know Mahabharata or stories from Ramayana themselves. The what to see. So when we are teaching children in the school, and I know I sometimes ask them that, so do you know who was the mother of so and so? And they said that they are completely lost. They don't know at all. Simple things like who was Kausalya, Kaikeyi, Sumitra, who were their children, they are lost. They don't, it's like, how does it matter? Yeah, because information is anyway available. They can just Google it very quickly. But is that what it is? We want to give them this beautiful world, right? And don't think that stories don't have benefit in this world. They develop very interesting skills among children, right? It sparks imagination, they convey complicated messages, develop and nourishes faith, transfers very deep values. Don't ever underestimate that. Transfers very, very deep values of whatever you all mentioned, honesty, compassion. If you're not going to give them the right kind of models in front of them, how will they develop? It also develops critical thinking. They begin to question why this, why not that. It's very, very interesting. I told them some story of, this one teacher, she had put up a post on Facebook saying that we took our children from nursery today on to the park to see where the ants, how they live. Right? So they had this interesting kind of a outing to the park to see where the ants are, how do they, why? Because she said she was noticing how children, they step on ants, right? They take a lot of joy in kind of hurting them. It's not a very innocent act. We feel that बच्चे हैं. Why they do this? इतने पुराने इतने जन्मों का भरा है, the joy of control, the power. So it comes so naturally. It comes so naturally to all of us, right? So we heard something which is, less powerful than we are. So this, she had put that up, and I was sharing this with the children. But immediately, one of the very small child, he asked me that, but Mtji, I don't know, they show a lot of compassion to ants, but they eat chicken. I didn't know what to answer. Which means they begin to think. They begin to think that, well, all animals, they do have some value, isn't it? There's much more than what I wanted to convey. I was just telling them a small story there. But they understand much more than that, which is a big benefit. Next benefit of shlokas, of course the Mahamantra, yes. But this is from Times of India. The benefits of shlokas, you can Google it. Improves memory and concentration, reduces stress levels, relaxes the mind and body. This is something which Times of India actually, they put up an article on why chanting or shlokas are important, beneficial to children. Right? Now this is about songs. Do you see any contrast? Yeah, we see the contrast. And sometimes we may think that there's no difference. Yeah, my child likes this kind of dance. My child doesn't like that kind of dance. But just question yourself, does your child like that kind of dance or you like that kind of dance? Yeah. And what is the use? What difference does it make? तो क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? उसमें भी तो cute दिख रहा है. What kind of samskaras are putting in? Yeah, tomorrow when these children, the same children, they grow up into developing those kind of emotions, forget what those facial expressions, those habits, then you become worried. What's the point? You're sowing the seed, right? So please ensure, understand. Like I said, parenting is a grave responsibility. Keep thinking that, okay, is this good? Will this be helpful for my child? Right? Is this giving a right impression? Imagine all the time the child is listening to some chaya chaya, or I don't know what that is. Some song which is totally obnoxious for the child at that age. The child doesn't understand the meaning. And you're making the child dance to such tunes. But soon the child will understand. Your child is not going to remain a child. But what is going to remain inside? Impressions. And then when the child grows up and dances like that, on what grounds are you going to say don't do it? You can't say. Right? So please take care. Of course, these are some important milestones which I'm not going to focus on, but like I've listed here, 2 to 6, these are some things which we would like the children to learn. But 7 to 12 also, which is a little after your impressionable age, also all S's are still important. Yes, stories are still important. Shlokas, the kind of music that you expose the child to, all of them are important. But at their level, make it relevant to them. Now the stories should be slightly differently told, different stories. Yeah, becoming relevant is very important in their lives at this time. And remember, disciplining is not the same as punishment at this age. In the sense, at any age for that matter. Don't think that by punishing you will correct the child. Discipline is different. Discipline is when you have set certain codes of conduct very clearly. Not that it depends on your mood. Not like that. Yes, and the child is more responsible for more ready for more responsibilities. And the most important thing here is a schedule, a routine. Most often we give up the routine. School है तो routine है. School नहीं है तो कोई routine नहीं है. This is true for many of us. School नहीं है तो किसी time पर भी उठो. इसीलिए COVID में parents परेशान. Yes, COVID was like parents didn't know what to do. The child is getting up at 11 o'clock. Yes, and not even taken bath, sitting in front of the camera with the screen, camera off. Mother is doing all the work. How often I've seen mothers sitting in front of taking down the homework and finishing stuff for them. Horrible. That was very bad. So routine is very, very important for children. Routine is a part of assertive parenting. And when I told about all these kinds of parenting, how many of you all have heard now in the Gita course about the modes of nature? Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Were you all introduced to that? You must have been introduced to the basics, right? And what did we also learn? We also learned that it's not that you can classify one person Sattva, one person Rajas and one person Tamas. It's not like that. It's always it's like a competition between the modes of nature. Sometimes, some time of the day, or sometimes I'm more in the mode of goodness and sometimes I'm more in the mode of passion or ignorance, like that. So similarly, all these 3 kind of parenting are there in us. It's not like, last seminar, some mothers were almost like, Madhuji, मैं तो ऐसी ही हूँ. They were in total, they felt completely. I said, it's not like that. All of us are little here, little there, little there. But the goal is what? To come to the mode of goodness, right? Gradually. Similar. Come, make it a conscious effort to become an assertive parent. Not authoritarian, not liberal, and definitely not neglectful. Come to the point of assertive parenting. That's when everything else becomes possible. Let's read a nectar drop from Srila Prabhupada. Who wants to read?
Whatever is done in Krishna consciousness, knowingly or unknowingly, will have its effect. Children who bow down or try to vibrate Krishna's name or clap during Kirtana are actually accumulating so much in their bank account of Krishna consciousness. Fire will act whether one is a child or an adult. If a child touches fire, the fire will burn. The fire does not say, "Oh, I will not burn him, he is a child and does not know." No, the fire will always act as fire. Similarly, Krishna is a supreme spirit, and if a child partakes in Krishna consciousness, he will be affected. Krishna will act whether the child knows or does not know.
Correct? So that says fire doesn't care, it's a child or not. Similarly, activities in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, engage them. Engage them in small things. Right? Engage them. Smaller children can be doing so many things at home. All of you should have a small place of worship. Most of us in India, we have, right, a small place of worship. But how much do you include the child in it? Most often it is exclusive for only us. The child thinks, "Arey, mummy wahan pe, papa wahan pe." It's like no entry for them. Why? Let them enter that zone. Let them do something there. Yeah, even it means simple cleaning. Have you ever engaged your child to bring some flowers for worship? Offer. Yeah, अच्छे से सजाओ, फूल चढ़ाओ. You cook something, and have you ever told your child, "Go give this to Krishna and come"? So very small things that children can do. Even a 4-year-old, 3-year-old can do this. Why? What are we doing? We are developing one relationship with Krishna for them. And not just us. It's not mandir यानी कि मम्मी जा रही है, पापा जा रहे हैं. It should not be like that. Yeah, it's like all of us go, all of us have a role to play. Because teenage, once they hit, then it's different any which way. They become very busy in their studies, वो सब हो जाता है. लेकिन if you haven't taken them at all, given connection with Krishna or temple when they were small, how do you expect them to develop anything when they grow up? It will be impossible, right? This is a Chanakya Pandit. Many of you have heard this word. Slale panchavarshani dashavarshani tadeyet praptet shodashe varshe putre mitravadachare. This says that 5 years बहुत लाड प्यार करो, लाले till 5 years. Dashavarshani tadeyet, the next 10 years, it's like that. Discipline. Yeah, discipline, not beating like that. Yes, the assertiveness should start for the next 10 years. But once the child turns 16, Putre mitravadachare. Become a friend to your parent, to your child is what it's saying. But what kind of friend? How do we understand this friendship? The friendship understood in the world nowadays is mostly the Western perspective. And what is that? What is the Western perspective of being a friend to your child? Can anybody, elaborate on that? How is a friend or a friendly relationship between parent and child taken in the Western world? Huh? Absolutely, to the point. They drink together. दोनों बैठ के दारू पिएंगे. What is this nonsense? It's true. I know of people who do this. And very amazing, I also know my cousin, one of my cousins, we have all been brought up in very, very conservative families and very strict. So my cousin is kind of rebelled. Yes, the typical authoritarian parent consequence. He's completely rebelled. And he was sharing this with me, that look at my friend, look at his father. How close they are, how nice it is to be. Both of them, they go to the bar together. Oh, you have that as a standard of good parent? That's the standard. They go together. They कुछ छुपा नहीं रहे, दोनों साथ में जाकर, very good, दोनों साथ में hell चले जाना. That's the next. Yes, both of you go together wherever you are going. Is that what it is? Is that the responsibility of a parent? But our eyes become blinded like that. Correct? So, what is friendship in this, according to Vedic scriptures understanding? It's not something very boring or not like that. It is that you are the best well-wisher of your child. And your child is able to disclose a lot of things in front of you. Right? Where you don't become judgmental of the child. You don't judge the child that way. You teach the child what is right, what is wrong. The child has to learn to judge what is right, what is wrong, but not label you in one category that you are like this. So let us see this, the two E's and the two F's. This is what we will understand if you have especially a teenager. Yes, the two E's are enlightenment and encouragement. How does that work? Enlightenment means to clearly explain to the child what is right, what is wrong, but encourage the child also. It's not like enlighten and not encourage. Encourage means what? Normally when the child comes with a lot of difficulty or something like that, or even says I don't want to do this, the moment you jump to say that you will never do it, or you तुमसे कुछ होता नहीं है, or we might say that you're always like this, things like this which fail to recognize the situation of the child. The moment you say, like for a very small example I will give you, child comes to you for help in math problem, how you may react? इतना easy है. And the child will say, everything is easy for you, not for me. Right? But if you say, immediately responding, yeah, this is tricky. The child feels that it's tricky. Parent also finds it's a tricky, means acknowledges that it is difficult. Right? Similarly, some parent was sharing that my child comes and some friends have teased her in the school and she is crying. I tell her not to take it seriously, but she doesn't listen. I said, that is serious. How are you telling not to take seriously? Do you understand? Yes, the child is being bullied or teased in the school, and when the child comes back and tells you, and you say, it's not serious, it's okay. The child is serious. The child is finding difficulty. How about acknowledging it? How about saying that, is it? Bas itna hi kafi hai. That must be difficult. That's it. Sometimes I've responded to my children saying that, like my child came and said, the friend of mine, horrible, he is this, he is that, went on and on, all Sahasranam came out. And I told, ठीक है, मेरा life के लिए friendship चला गया. ऐसा नहीं. So you acknowledge that before the child says, so I think you're done for life, no friendship anymore. So no, not like that. So what happens is, when you acknowledge the child's position, right, the child begins to accept what you're saying. If you say nothing, deny the child's feelings, then there is no question of the child listening to you, because the child knows that you are not understanding the child's situation at all. Right? So important is to encourage, not just enlighten, but also to encourage. And the two other F's, freedom and forgiving. Right? When especially we are speaking about a teenager now. Right? So very important to give that little freedom. You have to accept it. That the child who used to do all of that when he was very small may not do all of that when he's grown up. Especially this is true of certain parents who see that the child is coming to temple, doing this, doing that, everything, and then teenage mein thoda wo alag ho jata hai. They have different priorities and all that. But you can't expect that the child will do the same thing. Or also give the child freedom to choose his or her whatever things. Like for example, you want the child to wear, say, a certain kind of clothes. How about giving the child a choice there? It's a very silly example, but the point is, as the children grow up, you need to understand that they have or they need to be given some space, some freedom. They need some privacy. Not the same as when they were very small. Right? It's definitely different. And also, coming with it is forgiving. Very important for parents to show this about how forgiving one can be. So we know Krishna is so forgiving. We know how we have been forgiven by Krishna for all that we have been doing nonsense. So if we don't display that, children will never understand that Krishna is so forgiving. They see parents forgiving, then they can also understand that Krishna can be forgiving. That is not the same as liberal parenting. Yes, please always make a note of that. It's not the same as liberal parenting. Forgiving is more than that, in the sense the parent understands where it comes from, expresses very clearly. For example, doesn't say you have done this, you always do this, but instead says I am very disappointed. Is there a difference? When you take it on yourself, say I am very disappointed. So the child wants to correct that. But if you say that you have, you always forget to do your homework, then that's like a judgment. But you say, I'm so disappointed that fifth time in the week you have forgotten your homework. See the change in the child's response. It is going to be different, right? So in this way we learn different ways of responding to our children. The final nectar drop. We'll start with anybody wants to read.
Just like these children are taking birth, father and mother Vaishnava, they are very fortunate. They are not ordinary children, otherwise they would not have gotten this chance of chanting and dancing before deity and Vaishnava. They are not ordinary children. The parent must take care, very good care, that they may not fall down. They have got the chance. Now train them to complete this Krishna consciousness. That is the duty of father and mother.
Right. Okay. So this is of course in the context of bhakti. It's ending there. We started with that and we are ending with that. That if you want your child to develop good qualities, bring them up in a devotional environment. Yes. Understand the gravity of the responsibility. No matter what the age group is, give them the right association, give them the right impressions. Right? In that way, we'll be able to respond to their needs better and help them develop a very positive attitude, opinion about Krishna. Right? So if you have any questions now, please feel free to ask. And if you have any comments also, please feel free to make those comments.
I have one.
Yes.
So, get maybe is it only the technology is causing this much problem when it comes to the children? Because I mean, we were also grown up not very nuclear, but yeah, we were
Correct.
mother and father,
Yeah.
and most of them. But nowadays we are seeing more. Is it only because of the technology, or why this negative thinking? These things are plotting in their.
Yeah. Actually, it's a combination of everything, but if you see what the British could not do, what the Mughals could not do, the TV did it in 10 years. All of us have to accept it. Yeah, the British could not do that for so many years, we still had it strong. Mughals could not change us so much, we tried to cling on, but the TV, 10 years, everything changed. And now, there are, in our times, how many channels would be there? 2 at the most. 2 was also for us like, I still remember the first day when TV came home. I don't know if you have that. TV came home and it was this World Cup cricket. So my father had brought it home, to watch the World Cup. For me, it was irrelevant. How much did we watch? But how much children have now? And what? I can't even tell you what is there, right? We all know it is so horrible. And in the school where I was a part of the child protection team there. Okay? And in child protection team, what do? We speak about the different kinds of abuses that happen against children. We protect the children against, say, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. You can't believe it. Most of the sexual abuse that is inflicted upon children is at home. And you know where it begins from? It begins from them watching TV, watching the different channels, and then beginning to explore. And they begin to watch something we feel very, very harmless. We don't even think that there is a problem there. But do you understand what kind of thoughts and emotions a small child is going through when he sees all these, funny figures dancing and with very uh, ill-clad people there, horribly dressed, what kind of impressions we are giving the children? So what happens? Invariably, children begin to think that's a samskara that is sat in the head, and they want to explore, and that's how most of the abuse cases begin. They begin with this kind of a lure. Somebody calls them, then they are very open to it because they just want to know what is it. It's very sad, but it is true. It is media that has really changed the game completely. So all the more necessity for us to cling on as a family. Yes, as a family, make an effort. I'm so happy that so many fathers are here today because it can't happen single-handedly. It just can't. It doesn't work at all. And then it becomes like, "Arey, tum to hamesha puja path karti rehti ho." It can be either ways. It has to go together.
Ma'am, this punishment, like earlier times, rishis and all had the king's sons, like they will give punishment. So that way it worked, right? Like, and our before generation also it worked with punishment. So this generation they are telling no, don't hurt the kids or don't punish the kids. So like Vedic parenting.
No,
How
see.
to discipline them or how to get them under control.
See, things have changed. Because of, again, the media technology, we can't say that I'll be same, I have changed. It can't happen like that, right? So in terms of punishing, I'll be the same, but in terms of loving, I'm different now. So earlier, if there was punishing, there was also a huge joint family that would take care. Somebody or the other is taking care of you. It's not like that now, right? So we can't go with two models which are completely on different pages, right? They have to be on the same page. And in order to do that, we have to be sensitive that the child is already going through enough and more pressure, right? So on top of it, if you are going to give this kind of a very authoritarian, strict, then the child will rebel because the child knows that there are a lot of other options. Right? So I would say, from what we have discussed, it's important to be strict. It's important to have discipline. Very, very important. Yes, it's important for the child to know what is right, what is wrong. But beating may not be the solution.
Like even this is the punishment earlier days, right? Like
That's okay. I mean, see that again. I think as parents, you all know the best, right? The mother would know what is okay, what is not okay for different age groups of children. You can't expect a 10-year-old to do this. Nobody will do it now. Beyond 10, it's gone. So it's not going to work so easily. But at the same time, keep different. Be creative. Try and find out different ways of actually giving consequences to your children. Yeah, what negative consequence will happen if you don't follow this? You understand by consequences? It's a punishment, what you're saying. It may not be for instance, in school sometimes they used to make the children write 100 times the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare, तो क्या होगा? Mahamantra means punishment. As soon as they get out of school, no more Mahamantra. Yes, because it's a punishment. Why do I want to do it? I don't want to do it. But instead, start giving them sums to solve, more extra pages of math to do. This is what that works. Then practice bhi ho gaya. And maths, who cares? Like or not like, if you do it, you will get it. You will get it, right? If you do it so many times, then you can solve. So you begin to, but be careful, be sensitive there.
So ma'am, one question from mine. Now, many schools or society become in such a way that they give a certificate or anything for even if they are not performing well. So encouragement. But over the period of time, whatever, the acceptance of failure is becoming very difficult.
True.
And is creating a lot of problems because they become ambitious, but they do not know how to accept failure. So how to deal with this situation? And it is very important to accept failures in the life.
Right. It's very true. It's a very genuine problem. And much of the solution lies in parents' attitude towards it. And most of the time, if parents focus on winning, then the child is also focused only on that. Right? But if the parent is focused on participation, then the child doesn't mind winning or losing. Sometimes it so happens that the child puts pressure on himself or herself, even if the parents are not putting any pressure. So in that case, how do you respond when the child fails, or even if it gets a certificate? You somewhere, depending on the age of the child, say that I'm very happy you participated. That's all. Your appreciation has to be to the point. Not like, अरे वाह, बहुत बढ़िया. So the child knows कि कुछ भी करो तो बहुत बढ़िया ही करता है मेरा. Yeah. So which one is good? What is good? So even if a simple painting the child does, it is that we do this very consciously. Appreciate. I like the red color that you have used here. It is displaying something. So the child says, oh, she's actually observed it and she likes this part of the painting. The child knows, okay, there may be other parts which are need more. So be specific in your praise. Be to the point. That helps. Yes.
How to deal with these days? Small kids are given mobile phones, every kind of tablet is given, right? Which we feel at times that it's not good for that age group. How do we deal with it? Because kids will say, other parents don't have a problem, what's your problem? Right? So how do we deal with this?
Yeah, most parents we feel this. That see, there are answers at two levels. One is be with those kind of parents who are like-minded, who also don't give mobiles. That's the first solution, and that's the reason why you all are here, isn't it? The reason why you all are here is because you all are thinking differently. You know that there is something more to life than just job and money and this and that. You know that. Therefore, you joined the Gita course. Therefore, you felt that, I need to give something to my children also. So please be with that group which also believes in this. That's one way. Second is to help the child understand that, see here, I don't think they know what the bad effects are. Open up. Tell your child this. That I understand what are the bad effects, and I am your, I tell my child that, do you think anybody on the road is going to tell you what is good for you? Nobody. Yeah. As I tell them, Krishna has sent me for this only. Yeah, Krishna has sent me in your life for this. तो मेरा तो काम यही है. मेरा काम तुम्हारे जिंदगी में अच्छा बनना नहीं है. मेरा काम तुमको अच्छा बनाना है. That's true, isn't it? That I don't want to become famous in my child, not like that. Even for the teachers, I used to tell this, that you don't have to be a great fan following because like that as a teacher. You have to be a teacher in the mode of goodness, which means always telling the child what is good, what is wrong, what is right, what is wrong on the face, very clearly. Being sensitive, not being rude. You have to tell Simila. You have to keep trying. You have to keep telling. There is no other way. कोई magic नहीं होने वाला है. Nobody is going to give you a magic mantra and say that, shh, now your child says, no mobile, mama, it's okay. Nobody is going to say that. It will never happen. You'll have to keep doing it. Let's see, they don't understand. They don't understand. And I have heard this, I know this. Show them research, depending on the age of the child. Show them all kinds of research that come up saying that, this is what has happened. I know of a child, and this made a very strong impression on my children also. So this child, their parents, they had a problem at home. What was the problem? The father's mother was suffering from cancer. So she was a patient at home. All the time the parents were busy, caretakers. It's a natural. So what happened? The mother, invariably, she was, taking help of the mobile. Like you take shelter of the mobile. Completely you're taking shelter of the mobile. And this is the child was stuck, very small. She was, from 1 year onwards, this was going on and on. 1 year, she became 2, and 2.5, they realized that she is not able to talk at all. That's when they diagnosed that she had developed some kind of a syndrome, a problem, which was, quite late, 3.5, when she was diagnosed with some issue. She was not able to talk at all, and it was only and only because of screen time. nothing else. And this I shared. This I shared with my children. This I told them. They know, they see this. So when they see, they understand that no, my mother has actually made the effort to find out. Show them examples. See, now, it's because, um, and you can tell them, I can also do that. I can also give you this. I'll be so free. Sometimes I used to make fun, so nice if you're on the mobile and I can go there, I can do this, I can do that. You sit on the mobile, okay? It's like, no, I'll come with you. Right? What is this? My mother is going to have a good time. That's not allowed, right?
But in case the same thing implies, if it is a teenage children, the students are like pressurizing the other students. You don't have mobile. You don't have mobile. Then we don't want to communicate with you. When you go home, we don't want to communicate with you. We don't want to be a friend with you. We want to communicate using that social group media only. We want to communicate. So this child is getting alone. So it is like the pressure is on the parents. We want mobile. Everybody is having mobile, and why I'm not having mobile?
Yeah.
Not only mobile, for everything the peer pressure is there. Like
Yeah.
you're
Peer
not
pressure
following
is
this,
too
you're
much.
not my friend.
True.
Age-wise, it is impacting a lot. So the kid feels I'm losing all friends because of this. Why you're not allowing me?
Yeah, very true. Isolation, they begin to get isolated, and peer pressure is, of
So
course,
how
a
to
very
handle?
strong.
How to?
Very true. See, it's one thing, as children grow up, especially in teenagers, the last people they listen to is parents. Yes, the first person they listen to is friends. It's very normal. Again, solutions at two levels. Just please get them friends of the similar variety that you would want your child to be. So crucial. Get them into the right association. See, we went to Vrindavan only for this. I went to Gurukula for this. We were living here in Bangalore. We said that if we want those important years for them to have good friends, so parents have to take very important calls. You take decisions based on what? Money, income mostly. You switch jobs, you switch mostly with these ideas in mind. Right? But keep these priorities. That I need to go to a place, stay in a place where there are the kind of people that I would like them to associate with. And don't ever think that they need to have a huge group of friends. Not necessary. 1, 2, more than enough. Right? Also, again, solution is to keep temple as kind of a center of your lives. Krishna is the center of your lives. Involve them. Therefore, ISKCON has so many youth, teenage. In COVID time, I started a class online for teenagers, only for this, because I knew that now parents are busy. They are having a lot of online stuff going on, work from home or whatever, and even devotee parents, a lot of classes going on, sitting at home. They were very happy. But what about teenagers? They were stuck. So we had a class for them. There are a lot of things that are going on for teenagers. So explore that. That's the first solution, right? And the second solution, again, talk it out with them. Talk it out with the teenagers, and also engage in sessions like, for instance, we do counseling sessions for teenagers. Engage them in that. Let them, like I said, you say something may not make so much of an impact.
So it's like I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, from us it's like, there's a very interesting quote which says that if you want a teenager to listen to you, then pretend that you're talking to your neighbor. Yes, if you talk to them, it'll never go. So just talk to your neighbor and just like, okay, then I will hear what's going on. Yeah, so they don't listen to what we have to say. We have to find out people who are crucial, relevant in their lives and go through them. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So my question is, Mtji, that when we see these modern kids who goes to these international schools and their parents are living very modern lifestyle, but what I observe, they are very good kids. They are very respectful, they are doing well in life, they are doing everything. So how should we label them as a bad kids or their family or what? They are not devotees, they don't chant. But they are, when I see them, they're very good. They don't have bad habits. Maybe this party culture, therefore they have on weekend. So should we label them as a bad family or bad kids or bad parents?
Let's never do it. Let's never label anybody as good or bad in that sense. Yes. What we should label is good activities or bad activities. Yeah? Let's not label anybody for that matter as you know good, spoiled. We have to label, or rather, like what Jesus Christ says. Yes, hate the sin, not the sinner.
But their activities are also not bad.
Correct. So it's good. It's good that if they're respectful, if they're soft spoken, they're cultured in that sense. It's very good. But what the danger is, let me tell you. Normally in this material world, the way it is that you have these what are they called? Darts and aim. Yes. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to hit that aim, that main central dot. That for us is all good values, this, that. But while we are aiming, it might go here, it might go there, little close, but not hitting the point. Making an effort. But what do people otherwise do in the material world who don't care for these values, important values, is wherever you hit, they change the center. Do you understand? They hit it and change it here. And they say that this is what it is. What is what it is? I am respectful. I speak softly. Yes, enter hai. You get my point? It's a little subtle point that I'm trying to make. Is they may change the goal to suit their needs. But that's not what it is. Our goal is very clear. Our goal is to develop values around a Krishna conscious culture. Yes, that is our goal. To develop values is important, but in a Krishna conscious culture. But what you would normally find people doing is, they might look at whatever they are doing and justify that and say that no, this is the goal finally. This is the goal, this is the goal. So in that sense, we have to be alert, whether it's good for our children to associate with them or not, because they will never develop higher values. Their values will be at a very superficial level. Thoda khuded ke dekho, it will be all quite clear that this is not what we want them. So you have to, like I said, again at two levels. One is to give them association of families which are more focused with this, values with the Krishna conscious culture. And also speak out to your children saying that, it's not just about being respectful, soft spoken, very good, but I don't think it's a great idea to go and party or drink alcohol or get into smoking. Very clear. And if that's not there, no problem. It's okay. It's very possible that your children influence them in a positive way. Right? That's very much possible. That your children become capable of influencing them in a positive way because they are already in the mode of goodness. There is a lot of sattva there. Agree?
Yeah. And one more thing, I saw the slide when we were so there was a dancer performing Kathak dancer. One is from Bollywood. So when we see like this, are we not judging the people who are not doing Kathak or any traditional dance or not dancing for Krishna? And they are like maybe dancing whatever Bollywood or.
We are very clearly judging the act, not the person. The act. With very clearly categorizing, and I am very clear about it, that any dance which is based on Bollywood music and hip hop and stuff like that is not going to give you any culture, not going to give you any values. That's for sure. Right? No matter how many schools they call cultural programs, and there is not a single cultural program there. It's all Bollywood. Yes, all dances are based on Bollywood songs. But that is something which we are clearly distinguishing as not, oh, these people are like that. It's another thing. What we are saying is this activity is wrong. This this particular form of dance is not giving you any values.
But maybe few in butter depends on that. Maybe that's why they are doing it.
That's okay. See, one has to understand, right? If one is doing like that, that's okay. That's okay in the sense you're talking about the people who are teaching it. Yes, you're talking about the people who are
No,
teaching.
even who are dancing also can be their profession, or maybe that's their way.
That's what. So
that they do.
no, we are very clear in this, in the sense that if you are, what are we talking, in what context? We're talking in the context of children learning it, correct? We're talking in that context. And there is no situation where you can spend money to send your child to a hip hop class and you can't spend the same money for them to learn a Bharatanatyam or a Kuchipudi or whatever else. This is what the context is. The context is not whether this child is now grown up and is now using the whatever he has learned. That's an adult now, right? Making some decisions because of whatever he has or she has been brought up in the childhood with those skills, unfortunately. वो अलग discussion है. You getting my point, right? But we are not talking in that context. The context is very clear. That if you have to make a choice between these two, you know what seed you are planting. If you are planting this seed, then that's what you will get. If you're planting that seed, that is what you will get. Right? Because Bharatanatyam, why are we saying it's a form, it's an art form, but an art form which is completely based on devotional music. All songs are related to divinity, be it Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna. It's also beautifully, portrayed all the different leelas. So that's what we are saying, and that gives a different sense of culture in the child. Hip hop is not giving that. What is hip hop giving?
So now in this modern society and modern world, how to, so, is leading absolutely devotee life is not, when we talk about the car kind of lifestyle and being that modern, in between, what kind of, what do we do if the tips that we should follow this? Because
See, definitely it's a very gradual process. Yeah, it's a very gradual process. We can't, we don't say that. So, for example, if somebody at our level, say, gives up tea, coffee for the sake of Krishna, it's a big surrender. Correct? But somebody, say, for the gopis of Vrindavan, does it matter, tea, coffee? For them, it's not even there in the picture. Their surrender is very different. Right? But our surrender at this level is big for us. What are we doing at our level? Go slow, go gradual, but go very consciously. That's all we are trying to say. That be very conscious of the kind of steps that you are taking. Be aware. Isn't awareness that we talk about so much these days? Yes, awareness, bringing up more. So we are here talking about awareness of the self. Be aware. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of your children's environment, your children, your responsibility as a parent. These are the things that we are talking about. So gradually, there is nothing like nobody is saying that today, ek din mein pura change ho gaya. It's not going to happen any which way. Correct? Gradually, it will happen, and that's why we have sadhana. We have this process of sadhana. That's why we have regular practices. रोज थोड़ा थोड़ा कर रहा है, सुन रहा है, अच्छा लग रहा है. It has to be very naturally coming from inside, right? It can't happen overnight.
Wanted to understand, these days all these video games are there, right? You must be knowing some are really dirty, some are very bad, some are violent. You ask kids, they get engrossed so much they don't listen to you, as you said. Parents are not to be heard and listen. Right? How do we deal with it? How do we explain kids? When we explain, they are saying, they've seen in Google, there is no problem here. So how do we now explain them that it is not good for you? Because they you're using all, as a mood, you're actually playing the game, right?
Yeah.
It is not good, it is going to have an impression, and this is the sanskar, right?
Yeah.
But they are not listening. How do we help them? How do we explain? What we can show them that they are able to understand what we're trying to tell them?
Yeah, today my son was sharing, he's 15 years old. He was sharing that, Mom, there is this new game that's come up which is actually killing children. There's some new game, I believe, that has come where he he said something where wherever how you move, that's how that person in the game also moves. So apparently, some children have moved on the road like that, and they've been killed. This has happened in Mumbai. He was saying, and also in some other country also he was saying. So I said, so they know. So this is one way where you figure out that gaming does have negative consequences. All children also know this, that there is something which is wrong, which my parents keep telling, but they are so engrossed in it that they're never able to accept it. You just can't pull them out of it. It's become so hard. It's like I'm telling you, I keep telling this to everybody, that this is a bigger pandemic than anything else. And it's a pandemic which has gone so unnoticed. In the sense that nobody's worried about it apart from mothers. Few of us who feel that what is going on? It's really become so difficult. I would only say, and that's why most parents are also doing it, keeping their children so busy in studies, in this class and that class, and because they feel that if the child is free, then the child is only with mobile. But it's unfortunate. It's like the devil and the deep blue sea. Because you keep the child so busy, where is the time for the child to do anything as a reflection? Thoda aaram se baith ke, there is no time only for that. It's hard. I know. I completely accept it's very hard. So my request to all of you is never think that prayers don't work. Pray very hard. All of us have to keep praying and keep making conscious effort. Not feel that I will be able to make a change. We'll be able to make a change only if Krishna allows. Yes, we have to pray very hard to Krishna to keep our children in the right environment, give them the right values, give them the right kind of habits, and make the conscious effort also. So what am I doing to change that? Am I making any little small changes? Am I myself changing? Am I also sitting in the TV for very long hours? Is that why the child is imitating me? And whatever it is, or on the mobile. I know of a lot of mothers who, young mothers who have smaller children, they have given up their smartphones. They say we don't want smartphone for some years. Very good decision. Not a decision to make. They have simple button phones. It's like I'm there available on the phone. That's a phone. But the smartphone is only smart, not a phone. Yes, it does everything else. It ruins your life totally. So one has to make these conscious decisions. How much are we able to really make practically?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Hare Krishna. Just in interest of time, we'll just take one last question. It's going to be a
We teach the kids what is good, what is bad, what are good values and all. But we cannot control the outside world. Like they go to school and all, and sometimes the kids are getting bullied. And my kid always complains, like you said, this is not good, but they are doing that. And even she gets bullied sometimes and all. Not only my kid, but I see like some kids are bullying others and all. How should we educate our children to face such situations?
Begin with acknowledging their situation. I told this in the class also. Begin with acknowledging. That's the first step. Right? Say that it's difficult. And then you go on to solve it together. So there's a very interesting area that is developed in psychology called non-violent communication. I would like you all to explore that. It's called non-violent communication, where you begin with labeling the feeling that the child is going through. Anybody for that matter. Yes, there is a feeling, give it a name. And it's important to give the right name to that feeling. The moment you acknowledge that with the right name, the feeling, the child feels very, very calm down. Next, find out what is the need of the child. How do you want to solve this? Right? And then go ahead and act. So for instance, the child might want you to intervene or not to intervene. Sometimes the child may want you to intervene, go and speak to your teachers or even to the parents of those bullies. All these are doable things, right? But before that, a dialogue should happen between you and the child. Acknowledging the feelings of the child, acknowledging, okay, what do you want us, what do you think we can do in this situation? And then go ahead and do it. If the child says, Rehne do ma, it's like this only. So then go ahead and dig more. And are you saying this because you're feeling helpless? Helpless is the right word then. Then the child may think, that, yeah, nobody. Then you go ahead and do you think we can change? So like this, I think we can change the situation, right?
Thank you.
You had one last question, I think, from Prabhuji.
Ma'am, continuing the same discussions.
Mobile.
Yeah. Like normally, whenever in the home, even if we try to tell to the kids, like the stories, the samskaras, or even the kids who come to our home, like we tell them to offer the flowers or prepare some kind of
Very
grandas.
nice.
Even if we tell, they give the label as like, okay, yeah, the uncle is the old style, or they are out of fashion.
Yeah.
The one more the word is like outdated.
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 You do it.
So in this case, even like I'm trying to give my values,
Yeah.
and if I tell the head and the kids tell the tail, so normally we don't get in sync actually.
Yeah. That's why I use the word relevant, if you remember. We be very relevant to them. It's true
Yeah.
that they will label us like this, right? So, so to become relevant is to actually sound cool in front of them, yes, but give them your values. Try and pass on your values in such a way. Srila Prabhupada used to say, trick the children and trick them into doing something where they feel that this is not outdated like that.
But namaskar is outdated.
Yeah.
I tell do Vandana namaskar, they will like, Mommy, nobody does that.
Yeah, I do it, to my, some elders are staying and I always say namaste to them. And of course, my children were used to saying Hare Krishna, so that's okay. But you can't believe it, the grandmother replied back hi. Because she was not used to it. That's the world we are living in, I said namaste and she said, oh hi. And I was like, "Arey, acha, ये तो पूरा उल्टा है." So we are living in a world like that, pretty confused. So it's okay. Don't be taken by surprise. Just accept it that this is going to be. But you have to change. You have to give it in a different bottle. The same wine in a very new bottle. Try to change. Like for instance, when children were small, I taught them so many rhymes in English, all about Krishna. Like the songs that we were talking about. All of us remember nursery rhymes. Have anybody forgotten Baba Black Sheep? Nobody forgets Baba Black Sheep or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. No? So imprinted, samskar is so strong in the mind. So when our children were small, we taught them all beautiful Krishna conscious rhymes. So much so that there was one child in the same community, he used to call me Spirit Soul Mataji. He called me Spirit Soul Mataji. You know why? Because I used to teach this one rhyme there. I know I'm not this body, I am pure spirit soul. This body is just a lump of flesh that soon will have to go. I'm spirit soul, eternally in bliss, knowledge and ever increasing happiness. Chanting Hare Krishna, my life will be sublime. I just have to remember this all of the time. So the children used to love this. When they tried to memorize, and they called me Spirit Soul Mataji by then. I think we should just try little manipulation. Yeah. They will probably not sit and chant shlokas as much with us now, but somehow our aim should be to give Krishna to them. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. You have come from, Mother's Day is in near Pushkarni. She came all the way, and this is spent valuable time to all of you. with a busy schedule. We are so fortunate to have Mataji here. While coming, I was talking to Mataji. Mataji frequently come sometimes here because we need you here. So